Hey everybody, how you doing? It's another great episode of Lunchtime Talk with Steve, and of course, I'm your host, Steve Barrow. Okay, um, we have a few guests that are gonna be joining us today. We have Tangi. She's gonna talk about the stigmas of mental health, and of course, we know in the Black community, no matter where you're from. I mean, you could be from the islands, you could be from the U.S., UK, wherever and in our community, mental health is definitely something that we kind of shy away from. We have a lot of it in our community, but we shy away from it. We are always like, oh well, no, I don't think so. Yes, we have an issue. We definitely do. Um, in the meantime, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and share the link. So whether you're on replay or you're watching live, share the link for me. All right, we will be back in just a moment. Let's. Oh, wow, I'm wondering, are you guys getting the problem with the what looks like the camera? I don't know. I'm gonna see what's going on with it, and we'll be back in just a moment. All right, go ahead and share the link. Let me know what's going on. All right, let me see what's going on. All right, oh, there we go. Looks better. Before it was messed up on my phone. All right, so let's go ahead and get this done. All right. We'll be right back with you. All right, there we go. We are back. All right, and I trust that you went ahead and shared it out. With your friends and everyone. Hey, I see a few people already watching. Hey, Tika, what's going on? Terry, how you doing? All right. So let's get started. I'm waiting for our guest to join. She hasn't joined yet, but as soon as she does, we're gonna go ahead and bring her in. In the meantime, we could talk about a couple of issues that we've seen in the news lately, or pretty much anything you guys want to talk about. Um, Now we see one second. Let's go ahead and I'm sending her a message right now. There we go. All right. So basically, one of the things that we saw in the news recently, and I don't know if you guys saw it. If you haven't, you can Google it. And one of the things was the lady in Central Park that called the police on the guy and said that she was in fear of her life and all kinds of stuff. Anyhow, um, I mean, it may sound like a simple little, oh well, no harm, no foul kind of thing to some, but to others, it's crazy. It's like it's it could have turned into a different situation. I mean, it really could have turned into a different situation. Um, so let's see. I mean, I want to hear what you guys' thoughts are on that issue. If you guys haven't seen it, you can Google it, and you'll see, you know, the lady in Central Park that called the cops on the black guy and said she was in fear of her life because he asked her to put a leash on the dog, which is the rule in that part of Central Park anyway. You're supposed to put a leash on your dog. So let's find out. While we're waiting for our guest to come on, I believe she's a little bit nervous, but that's okay. It's just a conversation. You and I were just chit chatting, and then we from there, the audience would just jump into the conversation. That's the way I like to tell people. It's just a quick conversation between two people. Um, let's see. She's gonna be joining in just a second. Um, So anyhow, so going back to what we were talking about, a couple years ago, I was actually filming a quick clip with Kathleen Dean from the University of Miami and her team, and and we were actually filming in a dog park down in Hollywood. But the thing was the one of the ladies that was there, she didn't have anything to do with us. She kept walking over to us all the time, and of course her dog wasn't on a leash. We were in a dog park, okay, no problem. But then the dog came over and peed on the equipment, and we asked her to move the dog, and she won't move the dog. So then again, we asked her to move the dog again, very politely, and she got upset and she moved the dog. Then about maybe 5 minutes later, the dog came over and started eating the snacks that we had. And we're telling her, "Can you move your dog? This is crazy. This is ridiculous. Can you please move your dog?" And she got upset and she called the police. And I told them we saw her. I said, "I bet she's calling the police." And they're like, "No, why would she call the police for what? We didn't do anything." Three police cars pulled up. Three pulled up. And then Kathleen went over and spoke to the police officers and showed her her credentials and everything. She's with University of Miami, and they're filming a piece for one of her classes and all kind of stuff. But the crazy part is, three police cars pulled up because we asked her to keep her dog from eating our snacks and to keep her dog from peeing on our equipment, which the equipment belonged to University of Miami, by the way. So it's like, it's so crazy that these things can happen, and people feel so free to use the police as a weapon in order to, I guess I should say, control another segment of the population. I don't know. Let's see. I'm sending our message again to see. But I want to hear from you guys, what some of you guys are thinking, and what are your thoughts on that situation or any other situation that you want to talk about. Hey, Margot, how are you? I want to hear how, what you guys are thinking about any situation. I mean, you know how it is here. It's a free and open conversation. We talk about anything you want, And so let's see. Oral, how are you? Oral actually makes cut glass, sculptures, and this guy is great. I've never seen anything like that before when it comes to the cut glass. or broken glass actually, because he doesn't cut the glass. It's broken, and then he used the pieces to create his sculptures. So it's interesting. It's very interesting to see the things that he can do with some broken glass. All right. Let's see. So talk to me. What do you guys want to talk about? What issues you want to talk about, or what things you want to talk about before we get going? As a matter of fact, one of the other things I wanted to talk about, I wanted to make sure that you guys compliment these teachers, because as you see, it's not easy dealing with your kid, you know, all these hours of the day, and trying to get them to understand and trying to get them to do all these different things. All right, it's very, very, very hard for you to manage your child. So imagine for a teacher to manage your child. If you're the parent and they're not listening to you, could you imagine how they are when they're in the classroom? So definitely compliment the teachers when it's time to go back to school. Buy a couple of supplies. You know, you don't have to buy everything, but if there are 20 kids in the class or 25, and each of you buy a little something, there you go. Your classroom is very well stocked, and the teacher doesn't have to pull money from their pocket in order to make these things happen. All right. So compliment your teachers, send them an email of thank you or something. You know, pick up a Dunkin' Donuts gift card or McDonald's gift card, Starbucks gift card, whatever. Even if it's just $10, you know, for them to just go and buy a coffee after they had to deal with your kid for so long. I'm just saying. Let's see. Yep. They people will use the law to facilitate their own devious devices, and it's true. It's so true. So, talk to me, guys. What's going on? I want to hear what you guys have to say about so many different things going on. How's the new normal in your area? As a matter of fact, Broward County, we actually opened back up our beaches today. Um, oh, here we go. Our guest has joined. Let me go ahead and bring her into the conversation, and let's get going. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing awesomely awesome as always.
Thank you. That's great.
So how's everything? Don't see. We're just having a conversation, you and I, and these audience, they're just eavesdropping. They're just being nosy. That's the way to look at it. All right.
All right.
They're eavesdropping on our conversation. How's that?
That's wonderful.
Okay, perfect. So introduce yourself to the guests, to our audience. You know, give us your name and tell us a little bit about yourself and your cause.
All right. My name is Tangi-Kaye, better known as Dr. Worth It. I focus on mental health, and I help to bring resources of mental health to communities. I train for mental health first aid, and I do other trainings and keynote speakings for mental health. Because I believe that it's time for us to remove the stigma associated with mental health so that we can all be healthy mentally and also physically. You can't be healthy physically if you're not healthy mentally.
All right. Now, here's one of the questions, and you know, like I said, it's just going to be conversation back and forth. You know, we hear about mental health all the time, and of course, you know, in our community, in the Black community, and again, regardless of where you're from, Black people always have this thing about thinking about, oh, I don't need to go see a therapist. I'm not crazy, or I don't need to see this or that. What would you say to people that say things like that?
We all have trauma in our background. Everyone that lives has some type of trauma that has impeded their life. So for that reason by itself, we need to make sure that we are seeing a mental health professional every year. And I make sure that myself and my children sees a mental health professional at least once a year. Just like you go to get a physical checkup once a year to make sure you got your shots up to date, your blood pressure's in check, you have to do the same thing for your mental health. You have to go in, sit down, and talk with the therapist to make sure that everything is the way that it should be and you're not suffering from things that you might think is normal. I know for myself, I thought that what I was feeling was normal because I've always felt that way. But come to find out, I have an anxiety disorder. And to me, it's normal because it's how I've always felt, even since I was a little girl. So we have to go and make sure that what we're feeling that we think is natural is not something that could cause us something that's worse later, because we know the older we get, the worse it can get. So
Definitely. And one of the things too is like when I do a lot with the schools, and I talk to a lot of these kids, and one of the things that I find is that so many of these kids have what we will call PTSD if they had gone to war. But because they didn't go to war, we don't call it PTSD. But they have the trauma of
Yes.
Of things that happen. Because
Yes.
I mean, I would talk to kids and I would ask a simple question: how many of you have had a friend or a close family member that died from an unnatural cause? And almost every hand goes up. You
Yes.
ask how many have had two, hands are going up.
Yes.
These are kids that are 10, 12
Yes.
years old, and they've already had 2 or 3 people, friends, that passed away from gunshot and different things. So those parents, what would you say to those parents that say, oh, but my kid could handle it, he's a trooper?
I would say to those parents, you are fooling yourself. Our children, they're very resilient. Children are very resilient. They bounce back very easily. And as I said, when I was a child, people thought I was normal. I was okay, but come to find out, I was never okay. And you need to make sure that your child is mentally and physically well. You want to make sure just because they can handle it on their own doesn't mean that they are handling it on their own in the way that's best. There's always a better way to make sure that we are healthy. You spoke about PTSD. I was also diagnosed with PTSD, and it was from losing my mother at the age of 2. And I'm a grown woman, and this happened in October of 2019. I was suffering from PTSD, and when they diagnosed me, I looked, I said, I haven't been to war. Like you said, we have these ideas of what these different things are. And she said, remember, it's post-traumatic, and that was traumatic for you. The loss of your mother was traumatic, and you never dealt with it. And that's a lot of us as well. And when you see children with PTSD, that's because they never dealt with the trauma. So it's 25 years later, I never dealt with the trauma of losing my mother when I was 2. So now I'm suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder as well. So that's an anxiety disorder. And so it's real. And I say to parents, if you don't make sure that your children are healthy, physically and mentally now, it will catch up to them at one point. It might not be today or tomorrow, but at some point, your child will break.
And okay, and now when that happens, let's say, and like you said, it will happen, and we have seen it many times before, where children are Baker acted and different things. Now, how do parents get to navigate the system when all the doctors are telling you they need this, they need that, they need this? Do parents actually have any recourse? Do they have any? Can they say, I don't know. I mean, do they have to just take what the system is saying, or how does that work?
No, you are the best advocate for your child. And I say that because my son suffers from several mental health issues: autism. He has a conduct disorder. He has ADHD. And for the longest, they've been telling us it's just ADHD. All of those are signs and symptoms of ADHD. And I'm going, no, I'm a teacher. I've been teaching for 22 years. And I've dealt with children day after day after day who have ADHD. And what I'm seeing from my child is not ADHD. And we've been fighting this for 7 years now, back and forth to the doctors, to therapists, the psychologists. And it's been draining for me, but for my child, I'm going to be the advocate that I have to be to make sure that he gets the diagnosis and he gets the help that he needs. And we are just now reaching a point where we're finding a psychologist that is actually listening to what we're saying. And it feels so good to be validated, to say, to hear a psychologist say to me, you know what? You're exactly correct. I don't know why the other psychologists weren't listening to you, because what I'm seeing is completely different than the diagnosis that's been handed down. And now we're getting the therapist for autism. Now we're getting the therapist for his conduct disorders and things like that. And we're learning to deal with it. So you have to fight the system. You have to.
Now, another thing too is when it comes to cultural bias, because I find that again, when I talk to a lot of these kids that even have seen psychologists and psychiatrists and different things, depending on the issues that they have, one of the things too is cultural bias, because I've had a student and a parent, as a matter of fact, the student's parent, that told me that the psychologist that the child was going to, was telling her the parents are from Haiti. She was born here, and his whole thing is, oh, that's all mumbo jumbo. That's foolishness, and he was making her feel worse about her culture than about the bullying that she was experiencing in school. So it's like she came to you for an issue, and not only didn't you correct that issue, but you added to it by pretty much saying the same things that the kids were saying in school. So do you find that the cultural bias can be an issue? Do you find that that you should go to someone who understands your culture?
Yes, and that's so true, and that's hurtful to hear, because as mental health professionals, that's one of the things that we're trained on, is understanding the cultures. And if you're talking to someone and they don't understand your culture, the background of your culture, that's not someone that you even want to talk to. You need to get up and get your things and leave. That's the best advice I can give.
Be like, Dr. Worthington told me I should leave if you don't understand me. I'm gone.
Yeah, and it's important that you know that it's okay to get your things and leave and say, I'm sorry, but I don't feel that you're the best fit for me or for me and my child, and leave and don't go back. And keep searching until you find the person. And sometimes it takes time. Even when I found my therapist, I had to go through 3 therapists before I found the therapist that was my best fit. The first therapist was supposed to be a Christian counselor, and she was the worst person I ever spoke to.
Wow.
And I couldn't believe some of the things that she said to me. And I'm thinking, and you're supposed to be a Christian counselor. So you have to be very careful. Just because they have Christian in the front of counselor does not mean that they're going to be the best fit for you. So you just really have to be careful of who you're choosing, because a lot of times they think that they're going to be good. Someone told them, oh, you're a good listener. But just because they were a good listener doesn't mean that they're a good counselor. True. So just be very careful when choosing a person to go to. Cultural bias it's out there, and a lot of people, they don't understand the different cultures, and they will have you leaving feeling worse than you felt when you went in. And that's exactly how I felt when I left the Christian counselor, and she was African American. But for me to sit down and talk to you about the abuse that I suffered, about who my father was, and the last thing you say to me is your father was Satan.
What?
That's exactly what she said to me. She said, your father was Satan. You know he was Satan, right? And I just looked at her and I was like, oh,
wow.
I didn't know how to respond. It took me aback. So I knew you are definitely not.
And I'm gonna write her a bad Yelp review too.
And that's what I said. We have to, even when that happens, you want to make sure that you do a review on those people.
Let people know.
No one knows unless you do a review, you know.
Because if someone else had written a review before, you wouldn't have gone to her.
Exactly. And that's important, you know, that's very important.
Now, what about medication? At what point do you think that medication should be brought into the picture? Because some people right off the bat, the first visit, they're going to want to write you a prescription. What do you think?
Well, if your first visit is after a long bout with the disorder and your daily activities are being inhibited by the disorder, the first visit, I need medication. That's where I was. You know, that's where I was. My first visit, yes, I was given medication because Dr. Worth was stopping on the side of the road on the way to work to throw up. My stomach was in cramps.
Dr. Worth needed a new job. That's what. No, I'm just joking.
and she did say that as well. But until I could get, you know, you just can't, you know, quit immediately. And I'm a teacher. I'm under contract, so I had to work it out until I could get there. But she did say that. But again, I had to have something to cope, because I wasn't going to make it if I didn't, you know, and it was difficult. It was very difficult to accept that I needed to take medication. And even starting out, I didn't take it every day because I was under the assumption I really don't need this. And I did. And my principal called me into the office and she said, something's not right. You know, and she said, what is it? What's wrong? And I told her about she said, well, are you taking your medication? I said, well, not every day. She said, you need to take it every day. And she did share with me. She said, I'm on the same medication. And I know if I don't take it every day, I'm not myself.
Wow.
You know? And so once I started taking it every day, it was, I felt so much better. The heart palpitations left. I wasn't stressed over, you know, the things that I was going through with the kids, with the parents. It was like, okay, this is just, you know, another bump in the road. I can deal with it. I can go on. I can make it another day. So make sure that you're taking your medication, you know, and taking it every day. And just because you feel better, and this is one thing that happens with a lot of mental health patients, when they start to feel better, they stop to take the medication.
Exactly.
Well, I feel better, I don't need to take the well, you feel better because you're taking
the medication. Exactly. If you stop taking it, then you're just gonna you're gonna go back to the way you were before, and you're gonna
And you know, there's controversy over medications for children, especially our African American boys. And I really do believe that you have to be careful when giving medication to your children. You've got to research those medications. You've got to make sure that if it's having adverse reactions with your child, ask them, how do you feel? How did it make you feel? Do you feel different than you felt when you know, before you start taking? You got to have those ongoing conversations with your child about what is it making you feel like. And if it's changing your child, you need to change the medication. You need to go back and say, okay, this is what's happening. No, this is not good for my child, because that was for my son as well. He was having very bad stomach cramps. He would go to school and he would go straight to sleep when he went into the classroom.
Wow.
And of course, that's not good.
No, not at all.
So we went back and we said, okay, this one isn't working. And so she was like, okay, let's figure it out. And so we talked and she said, okay, let's try this. And that's why I loved her, because she would say, okay, let's try something different. Let's try this one. Okay, if it doesn't work, then we'll try this. But if it does work, let's see, you know. And she talked to us and she made sure that we understood what the effects were, what to look for, making sure that he ate before he took it, because, you know, sometimes medication makes them feel like they're not hungry because it makes them so focused. But just little things like that. Make sure you have someone who actually care about your child when they are administering medication, because sometimes the medication is for their pockets.
That's true. Yes, because a lot of people don't realize that that the pharmaceutical companies, when the reps go out there, they give people an incentive to write prescriptions. And a lot of people don't realize that. So
make sure.
And that goes to another thing too, another question. So there are a lot of people that need it and need the help but can't afford it. What are there any resources out there for people who can't afford? Because like some jobs we get, like my job, I get the employee assistance program where you get to go. I believe it's like 4 times a year or something like that. But what about people that don't have that with their job and can't afford the $150 or $250 an hour?
There are several hotlines out there for those who need therapy, and they'll talk to you. If you're in crisis, there are several hotlines out there. All you have to do is Google and it pops up, because mental health is big right now. If you go on to Google right now and you put in suicide, they're going to send you straight to the hotline for suicide prevention.
As a matter of fact, I do have that on my website as well. If people go to lunchtimetalkwithsteve.com and click on the link for help, it says help right on the top. We have suicide prevention. We have 211, which helps you with your light bill, your rent, different things. And this is all over the country, all over the U.S. We have Feed America, which is for the food banks if you need food. So just click on that link and it'll take you right out to whichever one of those sites you want, and you guys will be able to to get a lot of the services that you need, because I'm telling you, things are only and I'm not trying to say that that I know the future, because if I did, I'd buy the lotto ticket for Saturday. But but things are only going to get worse with this pandemic and the way that companies are closing. So we need to spread the help and spread the word when we can.
Right. And you can also go to Google and put in free mental health resources, and it pops up with so many different things that's free. And we don't know it because we don't look for it. We're thinking, oh, I don't have the money. We don't even go and search, but go to Google and they're there. There's a whole website actually dedicated to free mental health resources, pharmaceuticals, and counseling. That's free. So you got to go and you got to look, try it out.
All right. And I have my next guest that's coming on. Let me. I got to go back to my Facebook page. I follow everything on here too. But my next guest that's coming on is Chip Baker, and he's actually going to be talking about the pathways to success. And I want you to stay with us, Dr. Worth, because I think that a lot of stuff that that you're talking about and he's talking about kind of go hand in hand as well. Because if a person is diagnosed with an issue, that doesn't necessarily mean they can't be a successful person. So I definitely want you guys to be on the panel together. So hold on for just a moment. I'm bringing Chip in. Hey, Chip, how are you?
Hello.
Chip comes on with that Barry White voice. He's like, show you right. Hey, you don't have to impress us, all right?
Hey, whatever we got to do, man. Let's go.
So tell us a little bit about what you do, Chip, and tell us, well, go ahead, introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
Yeah, well, first off, man, I'd just like to say thanks so much for giving me the opportunity to be here on your show today, man. I consider it an honor and a privilege. And about myself, Chip Baker, I'm an ordinary guy working hard to achieve some extraordinary things. I'm a 4th generation educator, and I'm currently in Conroe, Texas, which is north of Houston. And so, like I said, I'm a 4th generation educator, special ed, and I have a YouTube channel. I'm a podcaster, which is the Success Chronicles, where I interview people from all walks of life and just share their stories for positive inspiration and motivation.
All right. So what grade do you teach?
High school level.
Oh, okay. All right. So you teach them when they they're just about to turn into adults, and
Yeah.
you can't tell me what to do. I'm grown.
Yeah. You're right about that.
And
That's it.
Dr. Worthy, what grade do you teach? You said you're a teacher as well, correct?
Yes, well, I'm an elementary school teacher, but at this point, I'm actually a instructional math teacher, where I work with my teachers and make sure that they have the instructional practices that they need for math.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So Chip, what do you find is like the common theme among the successful people? And first off, what do you define as successful?
I think, first it's individual.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that it's each person has their own definition of success. And then even deeper than that, as you go in different stages or different phases in your life, your definition of success may be different at those phases or stages too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me currently, I think the ability to have continuous growth while making a positive impact for me is my definition of success right now.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And so who have you interviewed? Because you said you interview a lot of different people on your podcast. Anyone that we would know, or
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. Uh,
Barack Obama? No, I'm just joking.
no, that's on the bucket list. That's on the bucket list.
He's on my list as well too. Don't feel bad. But one of these days we're gonna get him.
Yeah, that's it. So I've interviewed, like I said, people from all walks of life, Carl Lewis.
Oh, wow.
I've interviewed Kendall Ficklin, the motivational guy from Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
John Gordon, author. Bob Berg, he's the author of the Go Giver series. For me, like people ask me, like, what's some big name? What's been your favorite? Well, really, to me, they've all been my favorite because it's been an opportunity to learn, right?
Yes.
And so, like for me, like I interviewed my mother on the porch of the house that I grew up in. Interview some family members.
Yeah.
I do topic sessions. Family and faith is important to me, so I've interviewed, several like families to talk about what successful families are, like the fathers and the mothers and the kids separately, and so I've just done a good mix of everything, and just very fortunate to be able to have people to talk to me.
That's and what I'm gonna start doing starting this Thursday. Every Thursday I'm doing Throwback Thursday. So I'm going back through some of the interviews that I've done in the past, and also some of the people that I've met, and talking about the day I met that person or the interview I had with that person. So my first one is going to be Alonzo Mourning, which is I met him a couple years back, and I actually did an interview with him. So that's going to be my first one. But I'm going to talk about all the people that I've met, the ones that like I've been to see Barack Obama speak twice. I've been to see Michelle speak. My daughter has a picture with her. So many different ones, and it's like every Thursday, Throwback Thursday, because and I'm nobody famous. I'm no one rich, and it's not. I always tell people I'm Steve Barrow, not Steve Harvey. So
I love it.
So I'm like, because people are like, yeah, but this person, that person. I don't know them. I took a picture with them. Like, if you call them up and say, Steve Barrow, they're gonna be like, who? No, can't say I do. I tell people you're not important until somebody that's important can drop your name.
There you go. There you go.
So tell me a little bit about how you got started and what made you go ahead and do your podcast.
Okay, so for me, I'm all about showing appreciation, giving back, giving service, working hard. I love music. I love being a lifelong learner.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things that I just put them all together and made the Success Chronicles. And so, my initial thing when I started, I just wanted to show appreciation and give back to those great people that have inspired me, that I've been blessed to be around in my life. And, like I said, started with the people that would just talk to me, and then from there, it's grown and really just far surpassed anything I ever thought it would be, and so I'm grateful for the opportunity.
All right, and did you find that when you first got started, did you find that that it was hard to actually get people to watch, or I mean, what were some of the challenges you had?
Well, I mean, like anything, baby steps, young grasshopper. Like when you start, I can't expect to, I got to crawl before I walk, right?
Mhm.
So for me, I don't have a problem with putting in the work to get to where I need to be. And honestly, I still don't feel like I'm, where I need. I'm 3.5 years in, but I still don't feel like I'm where I want to be. I think it's still room for growth. And
Mhm.
so, you just, put the grind in, put the work in, and just reach out to people. I think one thing that's cool to me now is that I'm having the opportunity to be referred by people, right?
Mhm.
And people don't refer you unless you're referable.
Exactly. Yep.
And so for me, for people to think that like little old me, I'm referable, you know, like that means something to me. That means that people, see that it's genuine. People see the work that's put into it,
Mhm.
not by what I say, but more so by the quality of the product.
Right.
So, that's kind of been my journey, and just still pushing for growth, grinding and growing.
Mhm. And you say you're from, well, I don't remember the name of the town in Texas. Where are you?
Yeah, I'm in Conroe, Texas. It's north of Houston.
Conroe, Texas.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. And Dr. Worthy, where are you?
I live in Pasadena, Maryland, which is
Oh,
about 5 minutes outside of Baltimore.
Okay. You see, this is what I'm talking about. It's like I can have people on. The other day I had a guy in Spain, I had a lady in Trinidad, one in a guy in Jamaica. It's like this is great. I love this because this I don't even know how to describe it. It's just awesome, you know?
Yeah.
yeah, that's the beauty of technology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that really opened up my podcast or YouTube channel. Is at first, I'm teacher budget, so I'm just getting people that I can get,
Yep.
that's within close proximity. But then when I found out about all the different technologies that you can use to interview people, it allowed me to be worldwide, and that has really helped my growth as well.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, next week I'm going to have a panel discussion. I have 3 teachers. I'm actually going to get a 4th one. I'm waiting for her to confirm. But they're teachers, Black teachers that teach in China.
Ooh.
And and we're gonna have a panel discussion about some of the challenges they had, and of course the culture, because one of them is from Grenada in the West Indies, and then you have the other 3 are from here in the U.S. And
Right.
what are the challenges when you went to China? What so these are some of the things that I want to do. I want to be able to bring so much from the from outside of the normal area, I should say, because whether you live in New York or Chicago or whatever, it seems to be that most of us don't travel outside of our area.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I want to bring the area to them and kind of get their minds thinking about, wow, wait, Black people travel to China? Okay.
Yeah.
you know. But so these are some of the things, and Dr. Werther, maybe you should come up with your. Do you have a podcast?
I don't.
You
And
need
I've been
to.
thinking about it. I was actually talking with my husband about it yesterday, and he
Mhm.
was like, "Just do it. Don't think
Yeah.
about the what ifs. Just do it." So I
Just
was
do
like,
it.
"Okay."
When we're finished, I'm gonna get with you and I'll show you how to do it. As a matter of fact, I'm trying to put together, and been trying to do it for the longest. I just haven't had the time. A quick video of how you can set up your own studio for less than $100.
Oh
Mhm.
wow.
And I'll tell you some of the stuff, and I'll tell some of my audience some of the stuff too. This is actually a green screen behind me, and then I put a picture of the Brooklyn Bridge. Or I could put any picture I want, but the green screen is just a plastic tablecloth from the Dollar Tree.
Oh
It
wow.
doesn't have to be $100 green screen from Amazon or come
Mhm.
on. We got to think. So these are some of the things that I'm gonna put together in my video. of how to do it for less than $100, including the webcam, the program. Listen,
Right.
the ring light. I have a ring light over there. So when you put all that together, I haven't paid $100. The
wow.
the headset. This headset is what, $10 from Family Dollar.
Oh
Some
wow.
people are going to tell you, oh, you need to get a Yeti mic that costs $200, and you need to get the. No, you don't.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. You know what's so crazy? I used to feel bad when I run into technological issues and stuff like that, and I'm like, oh man, the audio wasn't this, but you know what? After this pandemic, I started seeing Jimmy Fallon having issues and Good Morning America having issues, and even last night, what was that? Was it Jagged Edge?
Jagged Edge and 112.
Seriously, and I mean,
Yeah.
really, and they couldn't get this thing to work with all the money they have and all the equipment and all these things, and that thing was just like, the audio issues and everything. I'm like, why should I feel bad when these guys they're with a radio station and they're having audio issues?
That's it. One thing that's cool though is like when I started this, like I had no experience at all about any of this. So I wanted to make sure I tell you that too, Doc. I just dived in. I just had a burning desire to, put the stories out there. So I just figured it out on the way. And of course, you see the growth. Like, some of the first ones that I did, like it's hard for me to even watch them. Now. But it makes me feel good too because I see the growth in me, and it makes me feel happy that, like, man, come a long way, dog.
Yeah. I look back at my first one. Sometimes the audio was crappy because I didn't have a good mic. So I was picking up all the ambient noise and everything, and the lighting was terrible. It was dark. And at that time I thought I was Steven Spielberg. I'm like, "Ow, this is great." Now I'm looking back, I'm like, "Oh my God." I'm like, "How do I scrub that from the internet?"
That's it, man. That's it.
So, Dr. Worthen, what are you going to do your podcast on?
It'll definitely be around mental health, and making sure that our people, African Americans, we dispel the myths and the stigma related to mental health, and we get the help that we need. And if I can provide resources and information, that's exactly what I'll do, because I want people to see that, like you said a little earlier, being successful with the mental health illness is possible. I have depression, I have PTSD and an anxiety disorder, and I'm successful. And a lot of times after I speak or after I do a training, I have people come up to me and say, "You don't look like you have a mental illness." And my question is, what does that look like?
Exactly.
And it's because it's been so stigmatized, and the media doesn't help. All the movies about people with schizophrenia or whatever, they look disheveled, they are homeless, and that's not what a lot of people with mental health look like. Those are the people more than likely that did not get the help that they need.
Yeah, exactly.
People do not take the medication that they were probably prescribed, and they did exactly what we talked about earlier. They started taking it and, oh, I feel better, I don't need to take it anymore. And then they end up disheveled and on the streets. So that's what we don't want to look like.
And that's a good point, because a couple weeks ago when the kid and I call him a kid, he's a grown man, but he's like 20 something years old in Indiana, when he led the police on a chase and then he ended up getting shot. That was one of the things that I brought up. And people are like, "Oh, but he didn't look like he had any mental issues or whatever." But we don't know what it looks like, because this guy, I mean, not only did he go to war, but he might have had issues from before. And my whole point to that one was when he got out the car and started running, they didn't even think about what if. They just started shooting. But the thing is, we don't realize that it's not like on TV where you see the person happy one moment and then the next moment it's like they get this crazy look in their eyes. It's not like that.
It's not like that.
The person people have issues. And so many people that I talk to, I sit there and I'm talking to them, and you wouldn't even know half the things that happen to them or that they're going through at that time just from looking at them.
Right.
You know, I remember Barbara Walters did a special a couple of years back, and she was talking to Sharon Stone. She spoke to, I can't remember who else, but I mean I can find the video and send it to you. And most of them are like beautiful women. I think Julia Roberts was on there too, and all of them didn't. None of them thought of themselves as more than a 5 on a scale of 1 to 10. And then they started talking about the issues that made them not be that perfect woman or whatever. And people are looking at them like, like, really? You're Sharon Stone. What? You're Julia Roberts. How can you not be perfect? But
I think that speaks too to how we carry ourselves or maneuver and operate with people on a day-to-day basis too. I think if there's one thing that we can assume, I think we can assume that we all are broken.
Yes.
Right. None of us are perfect. We all make mistakes. We're all just doing the best we can with what we have. I think, from there, when we operate in a space of openness, forgiveness, compassion, grace, when we can give those things to others, it's amazing how we receive those things as well.
Yeah, you're right. And forgiving ourselves, like you said, because a lot of times that's one of the reasons that mental health is so important, because a lot of us, we haven't forgiven ourselves for some of the things that we've done in life, and it causes anxiety. Though we think we put it out of our minds, we don't think about it. We think it's gone, and it's not. It's still living inside of you, and it's something that you have to deal with if you haven't forgiven yourself.
There's a quote that I would like to share with you guys, if you don't mind, Steve.
Go ahead.
The guy that I interviewed, big time businessman from El Paso, Texas. David Chin is his name. He was like a big time corporate guy in Deloitte. But he said this quote, and it blew me away. I mean, like, it, but the way he put it, like, it blew me away, right? And the quote is, we don't have to strive to conquer the world. We just have to strive to conquer ourselves.
And that's true. Yes.
Yeah.
That's powerful right there.
Yeah, boom. And if you look at it, I mean, it's so true. If we can just, put our head down and go to work and grind and strive to be the best version of ourselves every moment of every day, it's amazing how organically we eliminate the distractions. Organically, great things just start to happen for us. And organically, our path is lit, like legit lit. It seems like it allows you to operate in your passion and your purpose, right? And so, like, it seems easy for you, like you're, I don't know, like you're in the zone, like you're floating, right? But really it comes from you being able to hone in and just hunker down and focus in on being the best version of yourself.
Yes.
That's good. Yeah. That's very good. So when are we going to look for this podcast, Dr. Worth It?
I'm really working for seriously. In the next month, I want to make sure that I have things up. I'm working on writing my book right now as well. So I got a lot going on. And we are still in school. So I'm still teaching. I'm still working with teachers and making sure that they have what they need to instruct the students. So I got a lot going on, but I'm going to have that up within the next month.
And that's another thing too that that a lot of people and normally when I talk to kids, I try to have them write something to themselves, because writing is very therapeutic. And I always tell them, whatever the issue is that they're going through right now, write that as if your child, your son or daughter, 20, 30 years from now, project the future, as if your child was writing it to you. And then write a letter back and give them the advice that you would give your child or daughter. That's what you should be doing, because a lot of times we don't know what to do or where to go. And of course, when we tell a story to someone else, we miss out the little pieces, but you can't lie to yourself. And so
Yeah.
you write that to yourself as if you were your daughter or your son. Now you're going to write a letter back to that daughter or son and give them advice, which is the advice you should follow. And and I tell you, every single time, I mean, it's like, it's not that they're going to give perfect advice, but they see things in a different light. And it's like, wow. So writing is very therapeutic. So definitely get that book out there. You know, we really need it.
Definitely very therapeutic. As I was sitting here writing over the weekend, I broke down in tears and I was like, oh my gosh, because so many things that I had hit it in my heart and I never thought about it because of the pain that it did cause. Just thinking about my mother passing away at 2 years old and being told by my father that she's dead. And I'm 2, 3. I didn't even understand what dead meant. To me, dead equal to me, it meant she left me. And I felt like I wasn't worthy for her to even stay. And I'm dealing with that. I'm dealing with that now. The feeling of worthlessness, because all that time I felt that she left me because I wasn't worthy. What kind of woman would leave her 2-year-old? And that's all I could ever think until I was like 12 years old. And when I was 12, I finally got it. I finally realized what death was and she wasn't coming back. And at that moment, I tried to commit suicide.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's, to me, as I wrote about this, I hadn't thought about this since I was 14, 15. I put it all in the back of my head as if it never happened.
Yeah, definitely. You need to go.
Reality of making sure as an African American, I tell my story. Because I'm not the only person. And I felt for years, I'm the only one that's ever gone through this. I'm not the only one that's ever gone through this. So I need to put a voice to it. And the voice will help someone else, maybe another little girl or a boy that might be going through this and feel alone. You are not alone. I lived it. And I conquered it, and I'm still conquering it. It's work, and it's pain in the work, but it's work, and it's success. You know, like Chip said, their success looks different for a lot of people. So I'm just happy that my success is being able to stand and tell my story.
I think, just hearing you just talk about that, I think first, it's tough. It makes me reflect on, like I was saying, earlier, I think we're all broken. A lot of times when we're growing through the things that we go through, I didn't say go through, when we're growing through the things that we go through, we just think, like, oh, it's just me. But really, as you get older and you're able to look back, a little bit on it, you see that, well, I mean, like we're all in the mix. We all tore up. And then that process, like you said, of writing and getting it out and sometimes speaking about it to people that we trust, it brings, it's a cycle, I think, in it. I think first it brings an awareness for you, just like you said, okay, this is why I've operated because of this happened to me, which gives you clarity, right? Like it helps you understand why. And then from there, you can start that healing process. Right? And then, just like that caterpillar to the butterfly, there comes a transformation in your life with that. And then after that transformation, it allows you to really just help those like you're doing, Doc, like you said, it allows you to help others that are around you. Like you see the signs. Oh, there it is. Like you notice, like, oh, I gotta help with that. You see it like a radar. You see it. Yeah. And then you can make that impact, that positive impact on the life of others. And man, when you get to that place, it's good stuff.
Yeah. But the great thing is I wouldn't be here had I not gone through what I went through.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't have been able to work in the school system in which I work and help those children who 100% of them come from broken homes and homes infested with drugs and abuse. I wouldn't be able to speak to them with clarity and with knowledge had I not lived that life.
And
a
stand,
lot of those
stand
babies,
firm on it and believe in it.
yeah, and
Yeah.
those babies look at me and I tell my story to them and I stand and I cry.
Yeah.
And they say, you were on WIC?
Yeah.
You were on
Mhm.
you were on food stamps? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I was. And they look at me and I said, see, this is why I know you can do it too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Trust me, if I can, you sure can.
You sure can.
Yeah.
I tell these kids all the time.
Excuses.
And the thing is, like I tell them all the time, because people tend to tell these kids that you're a bad child, there's no such thing as a bad child, just a child in a bad situation. So we need to help that child change that situation. And when they start to get that mindset and they change that mindset and realize that, wait, I'm not bad, it's just my situation that's bad. I mean, when they get it, it's like, wow, they start doing their homework. They start doing, and it's like, I mean, to see these things, I mean, unless a person does it, they're not going to realize, but like, it's like flipping a switch and it's going from dark to light. And when you see that in a kid that's been through the juvenile detention system or whatever, it's like, wow, because they seem to think that they made a mistake and they should be thrown out with with the trash or whatever. And it's like, no, not at all. If that's the case, the earth would be empty because everybody has made a mistake. I don't care who you are, you have made a mistake. And it may be a small mistake to you, but I mean, it might be a big mistake to you, but it's a small mistake to someone else.
That's right.
A lot of things that we've done, and we're like, oh my God, nobody's going to like me. Nobody's going to trust me. You know what? People don't even care about that anymore.
Yeah.
You made that mistake. That's it. Move on. Now you just have to work a little bit harder to gain the trust back.
Right.
But that mistake does not define your life.
Yes.
You have to redefine. You have to work so hard that when people hear that mistake in your life, they're going to say, oh, that. Yeah, but I know Chip. Chip's a good guy. I'm telling you, that was way back, but I know, and that's how you want it to be.
It's that point of mistake, really, you have to understand it. It's just a comma.
Right? Exactly.
The end point is the period or the exclamation mark, right?
Exactly.
And so, I think, when you are people that are around kids or people that feel that way, it goes to the investment. You have to invest in those people, like you said, Doc, telling your story to let them see that, hey, you can do it. You can do it too. Period. And I
Definitely.
think, you get what you give. If you take the time to invest and show them that you love and care about them, well, they're going to produce for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're going to do what they're supposed to do because they know you care. Like, it's not about, like, I'm the teacher and coach, for me, like, it's not about like number 20. Like, for me, it's like, Chris Smith. I mean, just picking a name here. It's about Chris Smith. Like, who is he? Who is his family? What makes him, what is his goals? What is his desires? And it's not just number 20. You know what I'm saying? And when you take the time to learn all those things, they see that and they know it and it's genuine. And they're going to give you everything they got to give. And they know that you're giving them everything you got to give.
Yes. Yeah. And it's funny that you would say that because in the past, I've had students who years prior were always in trouble, always in the office, always. And when I get them, and it doesn't happen, and the principal,
how you do that?
Yeah. And I love them. I love them despite
Talk to them like they're human beings.
Every day is a new day.
Because the thing is, you might be the only person who actually tells that kid a kind word.
No, that's it.
You might be the only person that they've ever heard, you're smart, you can do this, you're beautiful, you're handsome, you're whatever. Because as we see some of these kids, and as handsome as that boy is, or as beautiful as that girl is, people are telling them, oh, you're nothing. And then they believe that. They hear it so much. Or as smart as they are. I'm gonna tell you a quick story before I go, because I gotta run. It's only an hour show, but hey, I tell you, the hour goes by quick. But I'll tell you, I always use this example all the time. We look at the young kid that grow up in the middle of the hood or whatever, and he might take a a half a key or whatever, cut it up, put it in a little bag, sell it on the corner, make a couple $1,000s, and we're like, he's a drug dealer, he's a criminal.
Mm-hmm.
But that kid is very smart.
Yeah.
He ran an empire. He ran a business at
Yeah.
15. All we need to do is teach him to change the commodity. Because if he did the same with sugar and got a 55-gallon drum of sugar and bag it up into 5-pound bags and went and sold it to the to local bodegas or local grocery stores, we'll say he's smart. We'd have him on the front page of the business magazine.
Yeah.
It's the same template. The only difference is the commodity that he's selling. So instead of telling him that he's bad for what he's doing, tell him, you know, you're very smart, but let's change that commodity.
Yes.
And that's what we have to do.
Yes.
I love that example, man. That's a great example.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to wrap up, but go ahead and give me you know, each of you guys just give me like a little quick you know, a wrap up, a little 1 minute wrap up of you know what you want to say to our audience. You know, ladies first, Dr. Worth It.
I want everyone to know that you're worth it, and you are worth it. And that's why I'm Dr. Worth It. And I realized through going through what I've gone through, the feeling of worthlessness was hanging over my head. But you know what? I'm worth it, and so are you. You're worth making sure that you are physically healthy and mentally healthy. You must make sure that you get a checkup from the neck up. Please make sure that you get a checkup from the neck up. And you cannot make sure that your body is whole if your head is not whole. You can't cut your head off and your muscles all the way down and think, oh, I'm okay. Make sure that you are getting your mental checkup as often as necessary. And it's just vitally important that you do that for yourself. Love yourself. Provide yourself with self-care every day, whatever that is, whatever you like to do. I like to dance. Can I dance? No. No, but I get it, and my kids look at me like, Mommy, stop, what are you doing? And I'm it down. So do something to make you smile every day, no matter what it is, no matter what someone says about you. Do what makes you happy. Why? Because you're worth it. All
right, that's good. That's very good. Chip?
All right, so I'm gonna go with my tagline on my YouTube channel and podcast. And you know, my tagline is live, learn, serve, inspire, go get it. And for me, I think live, you have to live a life where you live, and you're not afraid to live. You know, you have to attack the challenges and live and you know, experience things. And when you do that, you'll learn so much about your environment. You'll learn so much about the world, but most importantly, you'll learn so much about yourself. Then as you do that, you have to serve, you have to give back and you know, share the knowledge that you've gained based off of your experiences with others to help our world be a better place. And, you know, and little do you know, inspire as you're growing through the things that you go through, as you're living and learning and serving and facing those challenges. It's inspiring to others because they see you making it despite of, with no excuses. And then lastly, go get it. I think, you know, no significant success is going to come to you. You have to go make it happen. You got to go get it. And so live, learn, serve, inspire, go get it.
That's awesome. I like that. I like that.
Love it.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for being on the show. Thank you very much for the information that you gave to our viewers. You know, Chip, what's the name of your podcast?
Chip Baker, the Success Chronicles, YouTube channel, podcast, social media is Chip Baker TSC. Please go check it out. All the normal stuff, like, follow, subscribe, all of that stuff. But really, if you see something that you like, and you think of somebody, please help share with them to help make their day be better. Because, you know, I learned a long time ago, it ain't about me. It's about what I can do to help others be better. And yes, I'm an educator, and I did say it ain't about me, right? Like, it's not about me. No, it ain't about me. So if you see something you like, please share with somebody to help make their world better.
Yeah.
All right. And when Dr. Worth It has her podcast, we are definitely going to make sure we bring her back so that she can share the information with you guys. All right. Again, as always, I encourage you guys to take care of each other. I encourage you guys that if you see someone out there that doesn't have a vehicle, they need to get to the food bank to get some food, give them a ride. Call a relative, call a family member, someone you haven't spoken to in a while. Check up on them just to make sure everything is good. Because in these times right here, we don't know if they're going to be there tomorrow. Call and check up on them. All right. You guys have to take care of each other. All right. You are your brother's keeper. There is no excuse. You are your brother's keeper.
Yes.
You have to look out for the next person. All right. So as always, in parting, I tell you guys, take care of yourself, take care of each other. Peace.
Go get it.
La